I'm glad to see Phil and Ted here. We're hoping that Beth can join us from Michoacan. I know that things are a little unstable at the moment for her. Um, I did update an agenda in Session Lab, and um, I guess I'll turn it over to Ted and Phil. Thank you.
Hello, yes. I do hope Beth able to get on because I think a lot of what we had planned was kind of related to Beth being down in Mexico, visiting the Chinampas, which is a funny thing because it's probably one of the top comments that we get from anywhere is people making the connection between floating gardens and Chinampas, which is funny because Chinampas don't actually float. And we didn't really ever draw any inspiration from them. So it's interesting to see people make the connections. So, but yeah, I think we pull up that agenda. Ted, did you have anything right off the bat to get going? Maybe while Beth gets her way in here, hopefully.
I'm dropping Session Lab, which is the agenda, into the chat. And honestly, I put Beth's idea. I'd love to hear her update, but maybe it'll be a future topic for a cafe or a deeper discussion if she wants to develop something like that. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about Congress. And Ted, are you able to connect to the audio?
Is this better?
Yes.
Sorry.
Perfect. Mhm.
Yeah, the only thing that I had was the Fox River Partnership Summit, which is March 12th in Burlington, Wisconsin. And I can drop some of the information and the link to register in the chat. If you give me a moment.
Yeah, and that should be an interesting one. I think that Art Art Malm is talking. The Fox River has just been an interesting thing because they're, you know, with the federal funding, everything just kind of being completely up in the air and it seeming more or less like, vindictive targeting that Illinois is kind of not getting any of these funds to do serious Army Corps work, whereas it's less interrupted, not interrupted, just less interrupted, perhaps in Indiana and Wisconsin. The whole Fox River bit, just with the dam removals, is an interesting thing, and I think the urgency is a little less so now because the dam removal projects are on hold, at least a little bit. But I know that the Fox River Group has had more recent communication with the Army Corps, and they were already kind of reevaluating their stance on dam removals throughout the Fox. But it is still facing a lot of pushback from the kind of more local organizations who are trying to rally their respective cities against dam removal. It's not a great situation, but I think hopefully there's still kind of plenty enough energy to get all those dams removed. Maybe besides one or two. I know Elgin has a specific issue where they still intake their water from the river itself. So if they didn't have a dam, they might not have a deep enough water draw for their intake system, which could be a problem. So if you guys are able to join that, I'm going to try to make it up to Burlington for that. That will be an interesting one. And I think that is something that hopefully, I mean, maybe CWA can help a little bit in trying to kind of steer that in the right direction. Because right now it's pretty much just friends of the Fox River and maybe, one or two other groups that are really trying to push back against a lot of, I don't know, I call it mouth breathing opposition, but maybe that's not fair. I don't know, but it's certainly still quite a contentious issue. Yeah, Laura.
How do you feel a good way to support their efforts would be? Would it be through the development of a cafe or like a deeper conversation? Is there something that would be that you, in the short term, groups on this call or others would see as particularly helpful?
It it's a very good question. I would be really interested to kind of ask the Fox River groups what they think might be helpful. I certainly think in some communities, perhaps it's a good idea to get, um, input from, because right now it's just kind of devolved into this, the same thing is happening with like the Archer Avenue bike lanes, where it's just like two relatively small groups of people are very contentiously and very publicly battling this thing out. So it's, I think we have that conscious idea of CWA not wanting to parachute into places and try to, take over conversations. I don't think that's what this would be. So yeah, I think a cafe might be a good idea. Who we'd want to put it in front of might be, a question for any of the Fox River groups if they think it's helpful. But yeah, even just kind of, digging into some of the information a little bit, maybe I can try to um, put some of what I know into a concise package that people can read over, and maybe we can have some more conversations about it. Again, just because of the federal funding issues, it is not clear that it's going to move forward anytime soon. So they should have, I think, Army Corps will have new technical evaluation of the stuff that they want to do. They had to reevaluate because they were getting so much pushback from the municipalities about whether or not to remove their dam or take control of it themselves. So there should be some more evaluation from the Army Corps' end about exactly what's going to happen when they remove the dam. We've already removed one dam, the Carpentersville Dam. That might be an interesting thing to get an update from if we can kind of get in touch with any of those people. That could be interesting to sort of see how that process has gone. So maybe we get someone to come into the next quarterly meeting or something like that. Maybe give us an update on Carpentersville.
Phil, I note that I'm on the agenda for the summit, and they have an update on dam removal for about 20 minutes at the very end of the summit. And then they have about another 20 minutes on the Carpenter Dam botanizing. So it looks like they'll touch on that, but not until the end of the program.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I'll be at that one. I could definitely disseminate that information for anyone not here. Yeah, it's just an interesting time to be trying to remove some dams. Okay. Let's. So maybe we can then turn over to Adam about the Friends of the Chicago River Awards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can do that if you like. Beth emailed me and just asked me to provide a little overview of the awards and the summit that happened about a month ago. Every year, Friends of Chicago River hosts what's called the Chicago Calumet River Summit, and we choose sort of a policy topic to focus on that we think is something that is relevant to explore that particular year. Last year we had one around watershed policy. The year before that was around data. And then this year the focus was biodiversity and connectivity. And it's relevant to share, even though the event's over, for the first time, we had a really nice high-tech space where we could record the sessions this time. So if you are interested in checking out some of the speakers, I can share a link in the chat here. It's on our YouTube channel, so you can watch them. They're all really good, but I would say we flew in Juan Carlos Bravo from Mexico, northern Mexico, and he's part of the organization called the Wildlands Network, which does cross federal line habitat connectivity work in huge core wildlife corridors that stretch from Canada to Mexico. And his presentation was pretty fascinating. So if you only choose one, I would check that one out. It was really interesting guy. So that was that summit. And at the summit, we announced our awards for this year. We always do awards. Our awards program has been around for quite some time, and it's just the opportunity to kind of celebrate the efforts, people doing nature-based solutions projects throughout the region. And I can drop a link to that, but there is, I'm sure most of you have heard of, but the project in Robbins, which won our highest award level this year. We did a site tour with our watershed coalition last year, and it's just a very impressive project. So if you get a chance to go visit it, highly recommend it. And any of the other projects too, we visit all of them as part of the awards process, and it's just really fun to get inspired by the work going on. So happy to answer any questions about that if you have them.
I'd love to pick your brain about how your recording process of your conference went sometime offline, Adam. I want to maybe turn it over to Cherie. We are really excited that Congress 2026 is coming up. It's going to be November 6th at the College of Lake County, and there's going to be a water track as one of the dedicated focus areas for Congress. And I think I'd love to share a little bit more about that process through Cherie, but also maybe brainstorm among this group what would be some really important topics to be sure to feature as we think about this moving forward, because it is a really great opportunity to sort of think collectively about what types of presentations and partnerships we want to feature or have deeper discussions on. Sheree, do you want to give a little bit more background on that? I can
Yeah,
pull
sure.
up the link.
So you can certainly provide input and advice for Congress through these meetings. But if you're also interested, there are various planning committees for Congress. There's a main planning committee. There's a field trip planning committee. There's a group that's just getting together now to talk about how to celebrate the Alliance's 30th anniversary and what features to include. The Congress is also thinking of launching the strategic plan that's being put together this year. The Congress would be a forum for that. So that will be very forward-looking. The theme this year is growing forward together. And it sounds simple, but it took a really long time to get to those 3 words. And the word growing is to reflect that the Alliance has resilience and is always adapting. Forward means that even though the Alliance has been around for 30 years, we are still a forward-looking organization. And together reflects the collaboration that has always been a hallmark of the Alliance. So if you're interested in joining one of the other planning committees, you're welcome to do that. There's not really a deadline. You just step up when you're available, and you can step away if you need to at some point. They're not big time commitments, but we really do need as many voices as possible to advise us on both process and content for Congress. Laura, call for proposals. We are planning to open up in mid-March, and there will be 6 tracks this year total, and it'll be land, water, climate, and people, plus traditional ecological knowledge, plus things that are specifically related to the Alliance's 30th anniversary. So a total of 24 presentation sessions throughout the day. So we're looking forward to seeing those proposals come in. We're hoping for well-roundedness. We're hoping for hearing from a range of voices and on a range of topics. And as always, we want Congress to be both an informative day and a sort of massive conservation community networking opportunity. So there will be stuff built in all day for people to interact with each other. Anything else you want me to add, Laura?
No, that's great. That's great. Does anyone have any questions? I think Ted had his hand raised for a minute.
Yeah, I did. I think what I was going to say is, given that there is a water track, we would love for folks to help sort through proposals that are specifically germane to water. And if you're interested, we would love to have you on that review committee, the folks from this team, because you're especially qualified. Not that other people aren't, but that would give a little level of rigor and detail that would be really helpful to this effort.
Yeah, and just to provide some logistics around that for people who are interested in the time commitment. So the call for proposals will go out in mid-March. Proposals will be due in mid to late June, and the review process will begin in July for maybe 3-4 weeks. We'll have to see how many proposals come in. And then the teams will get together, discuss the proposals that they have reviewed, select what they think are their top ones. So the time commitment for that is very little until the beginning of July, and then a sort of intensive review process with things to read, things to consider, proposals to score, and then meeting with the team. And then once those decisions are made and the recommendations are sent up the chain, then that team's role is largely done. So I know July can be a difficult field work time for folks, and we understand that. So, you know, we're not asking people to commit to something they really don't have time for, but if you do have time and interest, your input is really appreciated.
That's great. The water track will always be the best track. I'm sure we'll be able to reinforce that this time around. No judgment for other tracks, but yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so sorry, Phil, I thought of one more thing. So also, if you are not putting in a proposal yourself, but you know of another organization or someone within your organization that's doing fabulous work that you think should be shared across the Alliance, please encourage them to submit proposals.
Very good, very good. And I see we've got Beth. Hi, Beth. Glad to see you can make it.
Yeah, dialing in from Mexico. So we were in the middle of what's happened. We were in Michoacan when everything took place yesterday. So just getting back into Mexico City safely. But yeah, I do have some stories to share when we're ready. So thanks everybody for being here today too.
Well, thank you for braving all that. I'm glad to hear you're safe and everything. It's a wild thing to drop in on.
Yeah, I think it was, so I was evacuated like at the last minute as I was starting to create the slides that I was going to share with you guys. So, and then we had to leave immediately, and we actually got to, luckily we had a gentleman who works for National Geographic in the car in front of us that took us out a sideways so we could get out of the state of Michoacan into the state of Mexico safely. But we did see like the 3 of the burned cars that took place right before we drove there. So it was pretty intense in the last day or two. Having said that, the stuff that I saw the week before, the activism of a gentleman named Teo that's doing amazing work in the Xochimilco Chinampas, another woman named Cassandra who is growing these organic gardens. it's just incredible what's happening down here from a water perspective. So if I'm not able to share enough today, yeah, I'd love to kind of come back to that at some point because we have a lot of photos and stories to share. So yeah, but happy to be able to actually get you the Airbnb and get this working today. So good to see you all.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I don't know if we had anything else from anyone else in the group. This might actually be a good time for you to jump in, Beth. I don't know if anybody had any pressing issues or ideas they wanted to talk about.
I can share if you want. I put like I sort of drafted, so I'm going to need a little bit of tech support here. I have a Word document and some links to some of the people we saw. So I could, in theory, share that. If there's a way to share a document on this
Yeah.
call.
Well, in the meantime, Mila, you can, yeah, get your hand up.
Mila, yeah, go ahead,
Yeah, yeah.
Mila.
Yeah, thank you. So, hi everybody.
Cool.
On May, I think it's May 2nd or May 12th. I'm sorry, there's so many dates in my head. May, Sierra Club is hosting an in-person water affordability summit. We're still looking for speakers and also wanting to make sure that we do our best with getting the word out. It's absolutely free. It's going to be at Starved Rock in their conference center, and so food is included. On our list right now, we're waiting for Sorensen's office to let us know if he's going to be participating, but we're looking for about 2 more folks to contribute at the top of the day on anything related to water affordability. And the context and boundaries of that conversation, can be literally anything. We do want a good diversity of talks on water affordability, whether that's from the privatization aspect to the cost of harmful algal blooms and rapid response to get drinking water, issues with lead service line removal. And so any angle of water affordability would be appreciated. So that will be the top of the day is mostly literacy. The second half of the day is advocacy. So we will be helping people understand how to organize around their water affordability priority, whether that is at their city, county, or state level. And so wanted to make sure I shared that. And if there's any ideas on how to get this in front of you all, as well as to amplify the opportunity or direct the invitation specifically to professionals. This can be for organizers, it can be for consultants, it can be folks in conservation or people that are working on campaigns. So it is not limited to people that are currently working on water issues. So it will be great to have a mix of folks. So thank you.
Very good. Water affordability. It's not one that comes up a lot, but just as important as all the other stuff we do, huh? Starved Rock's a great place to hang out anyways. Really can't go wrong, can you? Anybody else? Anybody else? Any announcements or upcoming things that we think the group might be interested in? If not, we can just bounce it over to Beth if you're ready. Oh, you got another one? Yeah, that's perfect.
You just jogged my memory. Sierra Club was invited to help with drinking water issues in Cahokia Heights in Southern Illinois. We have been doing water monitoring for the past 6 months and will continue to do so. There are families that are dealing with no chlorine in their water, as well as fecal coliform found in their water. At this moment, they are looking for everything from support with bottled water donations, because homes that do flag positive for bacteria in their water do receive cases of water, as well as other community members. They have moved into a phase of looking for an entity that can do project management. So they have this money from Dive Deep to purchase and install water filtration systems, as well as water filters for homes in Centerville, Cahokia Heights. We do not have the capacity at Sierra Club, but I did let them know that I will do my best to identify if there are consulting firms, if there are nonprofits that help with, utilities and upgrades to water infrastructure, just getting it out to as many people in our network to see if we can find them some support to move the next phase and get people these filters, which they so desperately need. And they have to spend the money by November. If you know anybody, if there's any consulting firm or group that comes to mind, whether that's St. Louis or here in the Chicago area that I can start making some connections with, I would deeply appreciate it. And now I'm
Wonder
done.
if, yeah, I wonder if anyone around here knows the, I think it's probably, trying to think of who deals with the lead service line replacement around here, because that might be a group that's at least knowledgeable about that type of work that goes into it. It's a good thought.
I talked to them this morning.
Oh, great. You're way ahead of me. Right on.
Thank you. Yeah, so if
Yeah.
you and I don't believe that anybody on this call could specifically help, but a part of EJ issues with water is a lot of folks are just people don't know that these issues are going on. And as long as we can kind of keep top of mind as we meet people or be on other calls, Cahokia Heights is significantly far away from where most of the resources for environmental justice is located in the state. And so I just kind of want to do my best with getting it out there and seeing if we can just find some people to move it on to the next step. So I really appreciate you all listening.
Yeah, Adam. Good. Thumbs up. Never mind.
Yeah, I was trying to do thumbs up, but I raised my hand. Sorry.
Ted.
Thanks, Phil. Mila, I just was at a conference down there, and there were a lot of local folks that attended. I wonder if it isn't worth connecting you with Amy. I'm forgetting Amy's last name. Amy Dahl at Friends of the Illinois Nature Preserves, because she did the Wild Things Conference, and there was a lot of local attendance. So I can, if you put your email in the chat, I can connect the two of you, and that might be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that group that was at Wild Things actually might be the perfect audience for you to talk to. I know a lot of people from up here made it down there, but there were a good number of people from more around the Missouri, Southern Illinois area. So yeah, that might be burden ground. Okay, Beth, how are you? How are you looking? Tell us about some stuff you saw. Oh yeah, Student River Congress at Northeastern. That's a good one. Good for bringing that up, Adam. Oh,
I think we lost Beth again.
oh yeah. Okay, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Go back. I don't know if we had anything else on our agenda. I keep on losing my. I'm at a conference in La Crosse, and the hotel let everyone know the week before we got here that they're like redoing half of the rooms in here. So occasionally there's just like drills and banging going on in the background. So I'm trying to deal with a lot of stuff here. Well, yeah, I mean, if we can't get Beth back, then I am out of stuff to talk about this time around. don't know if anybody else has any kind of random thoughts pop into their head about, whatever. Sure, everyone's just kind of getting ready for warm weather and thawed out rivers again, and that's always a fun time. Okay. Nothing. Okay. Well, I guess it's a kind of a good time to ask. I've been wondering if anybody else has had any luck with any kind of federal grants getting started. I know we have NOAA grant that we're doing with friends and Loyola University. It's kind of funny to kind of go through this whole like this has been probably, I think we applied to this grant like 2 years ago, and it kind of got awarded like sort of on the eve of everything going through, and it's just been, there's no one at the federal level to talk to anymore. It's not like you can get on the phone with somebody and easily connect with someone that just has a lot of information. It seems like there's a lot of brain drain and sort of personnel loss that's gone on over there. So I'm wondering if anyone else has had experiences with trying to get federal money out lately. We had a pass-through grant from the IDNR from NOAA, ultimately from NOAA, that we've been able to still get funds from. That was hung up a little bit after the administration turnovers, but this recent one, I think, is the first one that we've gotten that it still, I think, is in the old like 2024 funding. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has had experience with trying to get any of these lately. I'm assuming everyone's kind of in the same boat. Tessa bringing up MWRD elections, that's a good thing. People don't really seem to pay attention to those, although I think everyone is just re-upping. I don't think anyone is new on the slate.
There is an outside candidate, Sarah Burry, who I saw Sierra Club has endorsed with a pretty interesting background.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I didn't even hear about that. So yes, that's a good idea. Go check out who's there, see if there's a
There are actually two outside candidates. One is Sarah Burry, and the other one is a Republican who I forget whose name it is. But I was researching that yesterday for my own voting issues and needs.
Pastor,
That's
you guys
interesting.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, maybe this was fake news or whatever, but I saw that someone said that they received the Republican ballot and there were no MWRD candidates whatsoever. I was trying to reach out to the usual cast of Republican candidates for our questionnaire, but nobody ever got back to me. But good to know that you saw one, Ted.
Yeah, I did. In fact, I know I closed it. Sorry. I found it on Ballotopia. And there are two elections. One is a 2-year term for Davis, and he's running unopposed. And the other is the 6-year terms, which have the 3 incumbents and the 2 challengers, I believe.
Ballotopia. I always thought it was Ballotopedia.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Like
I'm terrible with pronunciation.
Someone usually, it's not you guys, is it that someone usually has like a candidate guide? Maybe it's WTTW that puts out a candidate guide for that.
I mean, there are several, like the League of Conservation Voters does it, the League of Women Voters. And yes, there are several sites that do that.
Yeah,
That
so
might be
what Friends
good.
does is just ask some questions for river-related issues, their takes on river-related issues. So in our most recent one we did for the primary election, we asked about their thoughts on green infrastructure, whether or not they supported the Chicago River Swim or the opportunity for future events like the Chicago River Swim, and then whether or not they support disinfecting the wastewater treatment plant at Stickney, which discharges into the Chicago Sanitary Ship Canal.
Yeah, and how do you guys go? That actually might not be a bad thing for CWA to take on about something like the Fox River. The sense that I get is that a lot of, the very vocal opposition and very vocal support, I don't think are the, norms of 90% of people living around these things. How do you guys go about, like, how do you kind of, is it just sort of you put out a poll and people fill it like an online simple thing, or do you reach out directly? How do you guys go about that?
We reach out directly and ask them to fill out the responses via email. It's important to make sure to reach out to their campaign emails rather than if they're already an MWRD commissioner, they're not able to do any of that work, any of their campaign work as part of their role as a commissioner. So they won't answer you if you just send it directly to their commissioner email. So but yeah, we just do the research to see who's running and get their contact information.
Quick
Very good.
question. I know that this is the primaries, but for the general elections, how is it, do people kind of come together to think about putting together a forum? I know I've seen Sierra Club's done like a full environmental forum. I don't think I've ever seen one specifically focused on like water issues though. So just wanted to understand like if there's any organization that's thinking about doing it, or if folks know if it's planned for the future in any way.
That's a great question. I don't think so. And again, I think the only thing that I've ever, like, I think maybe WTTW maybe has done something. I can imagine IEC might do something. I don't know. I'm just now finally on their kind of legislative and water list, and it's kind of overwhelming the amount of stuff that they're like putting out and trying to get feedback on. It's kind of just this revolving door of just constant issues and stuff. My impression of the MWRD commissioners is, especially with a forum, it's like I don't know how helpful would it be. They kind of all have sort of the same takes on a lot of things. I think the last one I know that it was really interesting, engaging to listen to was Deborah Shore, obviously. And since then it's like they kind of all have pretty relatively lockstep opinions on kind of things, and it's all just positive sort of technical water stuff that they get into. So it would be interesting. I don't know how we might create an interesting sort of suite of questions that might be revealing about how they think about things one versus another, because I know it's just a weird elected position that
Yeah,
might even be. Yeah, go ahead.
And so I just meant in general, not specifically with MWRD, but like for any of the races for the general elections. I've just never seen a water related forum, like specifically and like completely. The environmental issues are many, but just wondering, if anyone was considering leading that way and for what race. I'd be more than interested in learning a little bit more about that. But no, to your point, you're right. They pretty much are very similar. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a good so forum. Yeah, like current water as it's water week that's coming up at some point soon. I wish I could remember the date for that, but that might be the closest thing to getting a bunch of politicians in the room. But even that is more tech industry focused, so that's in May. Yeah, I would be interested too in hearing about that. Maybe we can get something going. Okay.
Oh, if we're still waiting for Beth, Phil, you mentioned Illinois Environment Council and like them asking for feedback on a bunch of legislation. That does remind me. I know this group talked about the riparian buffer bill a little bit when it was introduced last year. I saw it got reintroduced, same exact language as last year, but curious if anyone's been involved in that because I know we were talking to Prairie Rivers about it to see how there could be more of like an expansive urban perspective to requiring riparian buffers than it's currently written. But just has anyone been involved in that conversation? Because I kind of got dropped off and now I see it's reintroduced.
Tessa, I know last year that the Group 4 CWA Land Protection Group was involved in that conversation. I've been sitting in on those meetings and haven't heard much about it this year other than it's been reintroduced like you said. But that might be a good place to start. And those meetings are Wednesday at noon, and I think it would be not the next meeting, but the second meeting of the month.
Oh, is that the one that Amy Dahl sends the invites for? Okay,
Yes.
good to know. Thank you.
Pat, do you want to say a little bit more about Groundwater Week?
May is wetlands month. That's not enough. We need more than just 1 month. We should have the year of the wetlands. It should be a whole year. That's very cool. Cool. Anything else? Anyone? I think Beth is probably more than busy at the moment, so hopefully she's not in any kind of immediate peril. But
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you.
yes, thank you guys. Sorry that's such a herky jerky kind of meeting here. Appreciate everyone kind of sticking with us, especially again Ted and Laura and Shree, all you guys for putting together the group and everything and keeping us on task.